apologize. I have a little bit of a sinus infection, so I'll apologize. I'll talk as long as I can here. I want to welcome you to North Central Technical College today. Obviously, the topic is a very, very important one to our region. As we are moving forward and looking at the students who are coming into NTC, we certainly are trying to up our game to continue to attract students to this region. For example, we have a partnership with Michigan Tech, which is a full engineering program, and they do the first, right now we're at 3 years of programs done right at NTC, and then they go to a year to Michigan Tech. We'll be going to see Michigan Tech in March to see if we can get them to bring the whole program here. What's happening with that, we're becoming known in the 16 technical colleges as the engineering college. So as students then decide to look at where they want to go to college, we're attracting students from a broader region. They might come in and decide, oh, engineering is not for me, but they decide to stay. And we can attract them into other programs, and that's a positive thing for us to do. We're also working right now in a BSN admission where you do your whole baccalaureate degree in nursing right here. Again, trying to attract students from the regional area. We're doing a lot in looking at how we can continue to support manufacturing and other industries that we have in the area. We have a beautiful advanced manufacturing center thanks to our local businesses for helping us put that together. So we're known for a lot of different things now, very much known for our ag center. We have the only state-of-the-art farm, the 16 technical colleges. So again, we attract interest from a broader region. When you look at population of high school seniors declining by 18% through 2020, we're going to have to work harder to attract people to the region because we don't have a big labor pool like we used to. More people retiring, less people coming in. So we are also in the process right now of talking to our board this afternoon. I have a board meeting today. My board members are sitting right there. Hi, Tom. And we'll be talking about student housing. We have some wonderful opportunities again to work with a developer who would not use any tax dollars, but would come in and work with us to put together student housing. We've already secured a partnership across the street with National Management System so that as we become that regional attraction, we will be able to address some of the needs of parents because we lost students last year because there was no housing. So when parents came in, they said, oh, we'd be picking NTC, but we're not going to pick NTC because you have no place for our son or daughter. So it's a different world today. It's a different approach that we have to take. But I do want to give you some good news of what MTC has accomplished so far. 60% of our students, which is the highest of any of the technical college systems, is between the ages of 18 and 24. And we had an increase of 42% in high school enrollments coming right out of high school. That is top in the system. So our efforts that we've been doing with K-12, along with your support, to bring people here, to attract them to our college, to get them into the skilled workforce that you need for your companies. But we're going to have to continue today to keep them, to provide opportunities for young professionals, to provide opportunities for us to retain that workforce. So as you start your discussion, it's a very, very important discussion, but we have some unique challenges that we are facing because we just have less people. And so we have to look to try to provide more opportunities to bring people within the region. You certainly have my commitment as president of NTC to support whatever you come out of today and talking about, drawing talent to central Wisconsin, the economic development efforts that you want to do that. We will step up to provide that support, whatever you come up with and whatever you need us to do. Tomorrow we will have the governor on campus. After the State of the Union address, he likes to come to NTC, and he's chosen to come here again tomorrow. So if you have some things that come out of today that you want me, I usually get about 40 minutes with him privately. I certainly will be able to have, at least to be able to give some of the thoughts that you have today. But I want you to know we recognize the importance of today. We recognize the importance of MTC and stepping up, and I promise you we'll continue to do whatever we can to support what you're trying to do today. So you have a great day, and if you need anything, please let us know, but you're in very capable hands with Sarah and Mark. So thank you very much for coming, and thank you for coming to your community's college for your event. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful.
Morning. I'm Peggy Sullivan. I'm the Executive Director at Synergy, which is a regional economic development alliance in Central Wisconsin. And we service 5 counties right now: Marathon, Portage, Lincoln, Wood, and Adams. And I echo what Lori has said. As I move through the region, it's very apparent that with all the polarization that occurs in our state and our nation right now, the best thing that we can do as a region is to come together and work at some of the same goals where we all have the same objectives and the same interests. We're competing against one another demographically in a lot of situations, but I just wanted to point out that the supply diversification workshop is a direct result of the entire region coming together. I think Mark's going to show you a slide at the end of the program, all of the partners that are involved. And even though there are a few that don't have logos on the display, this was really a team effort to recognize that if we can build a supply chain marketplace here in the region, and I'm sure all of you are here for a little bit different perspective on this, but this supply chain marketplace really for Synergy and for this region is being modeled after a program that's been very successful up in the New North or the Fox Valley, New Bay area. And theirs really came out of necessity because with the defense industry, the ebbs and flows, as you can imagine, with product development, product production, they are continually looking for new ways to maintain robust economies when there's this ebb and flowing. So they've created an actual marketplace for the supply chain that we are working very closely to mirror here in the region at some point. But in order to do that, so we're working with our partners in the state, but I wanted to take just a quick minute, because some of these folks aren't going to have any floor time, but I wanted to introduce those that came to the table and are going to continue to come to the table to address a lot of these economic development issues. Because it's very important, as Lori said, that we work together collaboratively to address some of these concerns. It's not going to happen by county. I mean, everything that's done in those areas is tremendously effective, and those are legs on the ground, if you will. But we've got to come together when we can, when appropriate, to do some of these kinds of things in education. So with that said, just very quickly, the folks that have come to the table and some that have been working on behind the scenes are all your economic development partners and your education partners. Derek Heineken, Workforce Development. Erin Capellis, the Wausau Chamber. Of course, Mark Barwitz from NTC. Sarah Capellis from NTC has been just a gem helping us plan this out. Karen Olson is here from the Marshfield Area Chamber of Commerce and Industry. She's out at the table. Melissa Reichert is sitting way in the back. She's from Harder, Wisconsin, which is Wood County. Todd Kukan is in the white starched shirt with a tie. I like it. I really like it. Todd is the new executive director at the Portage County Business Council. So this is a topic that all of the chambers and economic development entities are working on. Coleman Pfeiffer, formerly with the Regional Planning Commission, now with the Wisconsin Economic Development Association down in Madison. Coleman's very active in helping us develop the supply chain initiative. So with that said, anybody else I'm missing that's involved? I missed you. I'm so sorry. But thank you all. You know, this was a testament again to coming together as a region and the things that we can accomplish. So enjoy the workshop. We hope that we hear from you after the workshop, thoughts, ideas, questions, and that we can keep this initiative forward. Thanks. I have the pleasure of introducing the next speaker. That is Coleman Pfeiffer. Coleman, again, just recently left the Regional Planning Commission. Did some tremendous things with youth here. Had some family situations, and his wife took a job or had to relocate, so he had to leave our region, but he's going to help from Madison to provide a lot of support. Coleman?
Full video. Okay.
You can fire myself up.
Well, I'm going to do video.
I'm Bob Gafford with
There we go.
Nicolay Plastics. I'm our business development manager. We've been members of the Wausau Chamber for a number of years. We had the opportunity, we were reached out by someone in the chamber, Aaron Capellish, around this time last year, and Aaron had suggested we get in touch with Gamber Johnson that they might have a need for what we can do as a supplier as an injection molder. So we reached out, and within that week, within a few days, we came here and had the opportunity to meet with Mary and to learn more about what their needs were for injection molded parts. And basically it ended up as a great opportunity and a home run for both of us.
My name is Mary Suhan. I'm the purchasing manager at Gamber Johnson. We've been with the Wausau Chamber for several years, and we've used them as a resource in helping us locate local people for manufacturing, for supplying our business. And we had them come in, met, discussed our needs. They brought a wealth of knowledge to the table for us. We went and visited their plant. It is outstanding, and a possibility that Nicolay and I would have never met if it wouldn't have been for the chamber.
I think what you've seen with the opportunity in collaborating with the Wausau Chamber and Gamber Johnson and Nicolay Plastics is there's a huge opportunity for manufacturers and companies to collaborate. Mary had mentioned before, we probably never would have met Gamber Johnson had the chamber not gotten involved. That there's value in those types of relationships, and having someone like the chamber getting involved in understanding the needs of their members and the capabilities of their members as well.
Well, first I want to thank Peggy for such a nice introduction. It's always nice to hear nice things said about some of the things you've been working on within your region. I was with the Regional Planning Commission for just over 2.5 years, and really did a lot of data analysis and studies on the economy from Vilas County in the north all the way down to Adams County in the south. And the numbers I'm going to talk to you today kind of show some of the gaps in the supply chain are really in the Synergy region, which is Lincoln, Marathon, Wood County, Portage County, and Adams County. So when you see the numbers, that's where those are coming from. But where this kind of idea came from this seminar, New North, which is over in the Green Bay area, has a supply management tool that they're putting together called the Marketplace to help businesses connect together and identify needs and services that they can get locally that they're currently going outside of their region to meet, to keep some of that money from leaking out of their economy. As I do a lot of my analysis and studies within the region, I started to see these large gaps in areas that we think we are very successful in with our driver economies, one being manufacturing. When you look at the supply chain, I'm going to show you some numbers. You can see that while we are very strong in that industry, we actually send a lot of our money outside of our region to get services met or product needs to build our products that we might be able to satisfy locally. And there's a benefit to doing that. We'll kind of talk about some of those things of why we want to keep our money full. But I started to see this gap. Sarah and I kind of got together and said, we need to do something to help our businesses not only understand how big that gap is, but with some tools that we have access to and maybe are going to develop that can help us connect those dots and kind of line up what we're trying to do. And we'll talk about some of those numbers and why that's important. So there's a couple of things that really come out of the supply chain integration. It's all for your business purposes. So the real idea is to increase business profits. Every business wants to make more money. As you make more money, you can do more things, you can hire more people. And there's two ways really that this is going to work. I look at supply chain management kind of like the fish on the bottom of the screen. Your business is that middle fish. So you eat other fish to build your product. So you have suppliers that you need to build your widget. In return, you have a widget that a bigger fish needs to create their product. So how do you put yourself in the supply chain to get more big fish to eat you? And how do you utilize your supply chain so you can get more little fish closer to your business, to your money isn't tied up in inventory and things like that. You have more capital to improve your product. By doing that, you increase your market share, you have more money coming in, you have a demand, you have to hire more people, and not just one-time jobs, but sustainable jobs over a long period of time, which is important here. So we're not looking at one-year jobs, we're looking at jobs for 5 years. So how do you expand your market share? By connecting to your local partners, saying, you need widget A, I can make widget A, I have a CNC machine that can do it. give me the schematics and I can make it, as opposed to sending that money outside of our region or outside of our state in some cases. The other part of it is that it's going to increase the sustained employment, like I said. I used to work in a management role where we had to justify hiring on people. I know how difficult it is to hire someone for 2,080 hours every year. It takes a lot of sales to create that one position. So it's not just creating a one-time sale, it's creating that relationship that continually allows you to keep that person employed and build employment. That's a lot where this comes in. Increasing your end users, you're increasing demands. It allows you to support your workforce, but also grow your business. It also allows you to branch your business's capabilities, where if one economy starts to go down, you have other things that you can fill in because you have so much capability with technology and your workforce. So we'll look at some of the numbers of where this kind of popped out to Sarah and I when we decided to kind of run this seminar. If you look at the total market demand for those 5 counties I mentioned that make up Synergy, you can see that we spend roughly $30 billion a year on goods and services to make our product. But we only spend about $8.5 billion of that in our region. So that means that we're sending money outside of our region to satisfy needs that our businesses have to make our product. Now, some of those things we're not capable of doing. Oil refinery, some of the natural resources we just don't have access to. So there's going to always be some leakage there. But when we narrow it down, we kind of dig into the details. There's a lot of things that I think we might be capable of. We just don't know our neighbor can do it. And we're going outside because we've always done it, or we already have the contract in place, or it's not maybe something specific that company does, but with a little education and some schematics and where the machines work, they might be able to make it for us and spin off the side, kind of a side product. If you look at it just for the manufacturing industry, which is one of our driver economies, not just for central Wisconsin, but for the state of Wisconsin. This is something we typically do very well, and it's one of our strongest industries. But you can see we spend about $6.5 billion outside of our area, in our area in general, and only $1 billion of that is being spent inside the region to meet the demand. So we're sending a lot of our money out of the region. We call that leakage of money. So the idea is that we can connect businesses together through procurement processes and education and networking and relationships. We can keep some of that red and move it into the green category. If we just do an extra billion, how many jobs does that create? How much gross regional product does that create for our area, for our communities? Kind of trickle-down effect of your employer spinning within the economy. It really starts to jumpstart the economy. So it's not just adding a business or a job, it's keeping them local, expanding our existing businesses 2, 3, 4 jobs at a time by building your capacity. And if you look at those numbers, there's a lot of capacity that we can tap into. A lot of that money, we can do that in-house, we can do that in region. Particularly just by educating children what our businesses actually can do. Just because you're a tube vendor doesn't mean that's all you can do. Your tools can do a lot of other things that may fit some businesses' needs. When I dig it down to another level, it's kind of the next step down. We look at something like primary metal manufacturing. This is one of our top industries, specifically in central Wisconsin and Marathon County. And again, you can see that we spend roughly $205 million on products, but we only spend $30 million of that in our region. So this is something we are specifically unique and have a competitive advantage as a nation-wide scale. We have more people employed in this on average, on a ratio, than the rest of the nation, something we do extremely well in. But you can see that we're only capturing a small percentage of the demand, so we go outside of our region a lot for the services. Again, some of those services are things that we don't have access to because it's a natural resource or something that we just can't do. But there are a lot of things as you dig into this even further, you can start to see that machine shops and some of the things that I highlighted in green. Things that we have capability of, we have a lot of them, we're just not necessarily utilizing them to their fullest capabilities. Reduces employment opportunities, reduces regional product, reduces incomes, and strengthens our outside partners as opposed to our regional partners. Some of that's cost. You're creating contracts through your procurement, but how can you lower costs through other ways, not just necessarily the contract, but your money being tied up, like I said, in inventory and things like that. So there's a lot of advantages to doing it this way. Machine shops is probably the one that jumped off the most. I guess we're meaning like 20% of the regional mean 10%. And when you look at that, it's something that we are typically very strong. But for whatever reason, we're not using all of our machine shops. We go outside to our surrounding regions to satisfy those local needs. So these are some of the areas that we think there's a possibility, and our goal is to create some type of marketplace similar to what the New North region has started to do to help you understand what all your businesses are capable of. So that when you need a machine shop, instead of trying to find one on your own, you go to portal type place. You type in machine shops, and all the ones in our regions pop up, and you can start to have that discussion with them. Can you meet my business's need? Here's what I need you to make. If you can do it, let's talk. Let's try to get together and make a contract, make a relationship there, so we can keep over on a number of things. You all have access to this information. You have a number of resources. Unfortunately, I was your main resource for this. But if you are interested, I can give you my card and I can put you in contact with the people that do. I know we're going to introduce a number of tools that you have available to you as businesses, whether it be through NTC, through the Regional Planning Commission, through the state. You can tap into if this is of interest to you, of trying to identify additional sales opportunities or procurement opportunities. And I know we're going to have a couple of businesses come and talk and share some of their success stories of how they work with local companies to meet their needs and how the relationship has worked and benefited not only the company, but them as a regional partner. So I believe Mark is going to lead that discussion, and it's kind of, we'll go from there. So that's it.
Okay. If Mary and Bob and Rick and David can come up and join us up at the panel here and bring your name tags. While they're doing that, as Colin mentioned, we're going to have a conversation over the next hour with some folks that are doing this. And you all represent different businesses, business sectors. You probably all have similar stories and things that are going on. One thing that is great about these kinds of opportunities is we learn from each other. And we had a panel like this earlier in the year where we were talking with businesses about talent development. And we had a number of folks just share their stories, their thoughts about talent development, and it was a great conversation and dialogue. And so that's kind of what this next hour or so is really going to be about, listening to folks that are currently have partnered, have looked at opportunities to grow their businesses. We have some questions that maybe I'll run through and just keep it open to the panel. Feel free to jump in and interject whenever you feel like you had something important to add to the conversation. I'd also like to open it up to the audience as well. It's a great opportunity for you to learn, maybe share some of your own stories or challenges that you've had in looking at supply chain opportunities, whether it's in manufacturing or healthcare or whatever your business sector is. Let's keep that open and that dialogue to happen as well. So with that, if the panelists could just introduce themselves and their role at their particular business, and then I'll take it from there. So we're going to start over here, please.
Sure. Rick Marshall, President of Langtech. David Arthur, President of Southern Dispatch Forming.
Bob Gafford, Business Development Manager for Clay Plastics.
Mary Suhan, Purchasing Manager, Gamber Johnson.
Okay. And maybe just your location, being that our topic is about supply chain management. Where are you located?
Okay. Location for us would be Wausau, West Industrial Park.
Okay.
We have 4 locations. Our corporate office is in Texas, near Dallas, Fort Worth. We have a facility in Modesto, California, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Most recent facility just put in here in the Park across.
Okay, great.
Nicolay Plastics is located just south of Lakewood, Wisconsin, in Pownell County. So we're about an hour and a half, 45 minutes from here.
Gamber Johnson is located in Stevens Point, Industrial.
Okay, thank you very much. Just kind of give us the scope of, as we have our discussion today, what does that logistic look like from a transportation, from a distance standpoint too? So, Bob and Mary, I want to start with you folks. If you could just maybe give us kind of that bigger picture. We saw a little bit from the video standpoint, but just kind of walk through that process of how you all connected, what does it look like, that product line, and where did you see that kind of opportunity? Either one.
Nicolay Plastics, we were contacted by Aaron Capellish a little over a year. And Aaron was at a chamber event, it's my understanding, and had met with Director of Operations for Gamber Johnson, Gladden. And Gladden had been talking with Aaron about some of the challenges that they were having in their supply chain, specifically with injection molding, which is what Nicolay Plastics does. We're a custom plastics injection. And Aaron was very familiar with Nicolay Plastics, and he thought there might be an opportunity for Nicolay to support the needs of Gamber, especially in the area that they're having challenges with lead times. So he shared that information. We reached out to Gamber and Mary within I think that same day, and then we met with them in 2 days from there. And it was a great opportunity to understand
the challenges that they're having with lead times and some things with quality. But the greatest opportunity was that Gamber was a company that we probably would have struggled getting an audience with initially. There are probably 2,000 or so injection molders in the United States alone. Some are captive, some are custom molders like ourselves. And that credibility, just the word of mouth that Aaron was able to share, really resonated with Mary and with Gamber. It can be a challenge. I mean, a lot of you work with have salespeople and wonder how they can't get into a certain company, and that was a great opportunity for us to learn what they needed. So.
I was very fortunate. I had just started with Gamber Johnson, and I was looking for a injection mold company, and I went on the internet and I had started making my list. And as you know, they usually start with A. You know, we got down to Nicolay was in, but with them calling and got them coming back from meeting and letting us know that this would be a company to get to know, see what they have to offer. Well, when they called, you know, we set up our meeting in a couple of days, and they came down and we talked about everything. I went through and explained what we were looking for, what issues we were having, what kind of guidelines we needed, and that. And they were very open, very honest. I went over to Nicolay, toured the facility, seen what they had to offer, and we started a relationship based on that. It was very good to go there and see and actually know, can they really produce what we needed? It was well worth the time to go, get to meet everybody, and it's turned out very well for us. They did several projects with us already. They're from concept all the way through production, and the turnaround time has been awesome to have them work with quick response manufacturing, and it's been wonderful for Gamber.
That was one of the areas that we found is Nicolay, we specialize in what's called quick response manufacturing. It's kind of like lean on steroids. It was developed at the University of Wisconsin down in Madison. And as we were talking with Mary, we found that they actually are involved in quick response manufacturing as well. We also found that when we were nominated for Wisconsin Manufacturer of the Year, they were at the Wisconsin Manufacturer of the Year at the same time. And that was within months of actually having met them and becoming a new resource from them. So the credibility that initially came from Aaron's conversation, it's just continued to build as our companies are continuing to grow and specialize in a field that's kind of remarkably different from our competition. And we're all right within this area.
To stay with that, with both of you, if I can, and maybe just ask a general question about what challenges did you run into as you started this relationship and realized that, hey, we see some fit, we have a niche, we have a supply, we have a product. Were there any challenges that initially kind of hit you right in the face, or was it some things that you said, we need to work through some of these issues before we actually get into production, get into the distribution factors?
In the beginning, our engineering department needed to understand the capabilities of Nicolay. We went to the University of Nicolay, and they taught us the process and how it flows and works. We brought that back, and it's helped us understand how we design. We also have the engineers at Nicolay that work with us and tell us how to better design our product to have less defects, less problems, ease in making our product, and that.
I think with any new relationship, it's understanding where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and being as transparent as possible with that. From that, it was really just understanding what Gamber's expectations were, but then also understanding the relationships and any challenges or successes they had with their other suppliers. If you can keep that level of communication open and honest, we found that really resonated for both companies. And it wasn't a customer-supplier relationship so much anymore. It really has become a partnership. And that's really our goal, is that our customers have a difficult time distinguishing where they stop and where we begin. Our engineers are intimately involved working with them for design for manufacturability. We understand what their timelines are. We've shared some tools to help with the communication, something that we do where they can log in and see exactly where their tool is, where the lead time is. And I think that helps out more than anything, is that level of transparency. For a company making a switch, making a change to a new supplier, oftentimes they don't know, for lack of a better term, is the devil they're with better than the devil that they don't know. And it's a leap of faith making that change. So it's a big leap of faith for Mary to make that change and look at Nicolay, and especially being relatively new with Gamber at the time. She was taking from a purchasing standpoint, that's a significant risk. So she had to really understand that we were there to support and trust her. So I don't know if there were any real challenges. I think just the biggest thing is making sure that you have that foundation of trust from there, and that we're all from the same region. I mean, it makes it easier to work with one another. Maybe different working with someone from New York or Florida or something like that.
Did this open up any additional opportunities, Bob, at Nicolay for you guys as well, or did you have to bring in something new to meet now the specs and the product line that Gamber is asking for, or was it within pretty much the wheelhouse that you all have already?
Their business model fits our wheelhouse very well. I mentioned before there are a couple thousand injection molders in the country. Nicolay's, we're remarkably different in that we specialize in lower to moderate volumes, a high level of complexity, and a wide material mix. Where our competition typically, they're focused on the high volume. Gamber's business model is that lower to moderate volume, and because they're turning their products, every really the lifespan of the product is about 3-4 years. They have constant new products, new product development, new design for manufacturability, but speed to market is critical for them. And with our lead times and our focus on quick response manufacturing, that has really, I think, resonated for them as well.
We've heard, obviously, that speed time really reduces costs, having the transportation back and forth of materials and so forth. Mary, anything from your standpoint, too, did it allow you to increase capacities? Did it allow you to now grow a new marketplace because you had more of that quick response, quick manufacturing? It was less out of your control and more within the scope of time frames to maybe open some new doors for new customers. Was there anything, or are there things on the horizon that you're looking at as a company from that standpoint?
We have several new projects coming, and we will be working with Nicolay on it based on the fact that they do have the quick response time for us to get to market. We look at continuing to expand with them. We have grown our business due to the fact that we have been able to get to market, and that has been critical for Gamber Johnson.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I'd like to switch gears a little bit now. Let's turn it over to Rick and David here. And again, maybe we start off by sharing your story, how you two met, what kind of product line are we talking about, how did it all kind of develop into the relationship that you have now, where obviously there's a facility right across the street.
Maybe to answer that question, we'll start off first. David, if you explain what you do.
We curve metal. We're kind of a niche business. People can send us their straight aluminum extrusions, and we usually do complex shapes. These are not simple shapes. We curve it to a specified radius that the customer needs for their window, curtain wall system, any kind of an architectural product. We also do non-architectural products. We can curve it, and then we can send it back. We have tried over the last few years to regionalize our business, because trying to ship this, as you can well imagine, is like trying to ship spaghetti. and it can get damaged. And these are window frame systems that are in people's homes, offices, nice facilities like this. So they have to reach market and look nice. So it has benefited us to put our facilities close to our customer base. That's
And for Line Tech, what we are is we're a finishing company. We do anodizing, liquid painting, powder coating. And the thing that kind of makes us a little different than other finishers is we do services both upstream and downstream of the supply chain from the finishing, whether it be warehousing or thermal services or things like that. So as part of our company strategy, we always look for opportunities to do additional services for our customers. And we told our customers, like a lot of folks in this room here, and kind of the thing that stuck out loud and clear from customers that they want us to get into was the stretch forming business. Because for them, there's only 3 or 4 companies in the United States that have the capability to do what David does. And they're typically 500 to 1,000 miles away from where the customer is. In the case of the upper Midwest, the nearest stretch form prior to David being here was in Missouri. So the purchasing people involved with this, it was number one pain in the tail type item with a lot of cost for freight and a lot of lead time tied up with freight. So we looked at getting into it ourselves and found out there's a reason there's only 3 or 4 people that are in that business. It's very, very difficult to do. It takes 3 or 4 years of craftsmanship to figure out how to do that the right way and not crimp the metal. So we shied away from getting into it ourselves and looked at either acquiring one of those companies or forming an alliance with one of those companies. So we kind of networked with the 3 or 4 that were out there, got to know David through that networking process, and found a fairly strong strategic and compatible company personality profile between the two of us, and decided to form an alliance to provide this to our customers. And that's how David got to be, start a facility here in Wausau next to us for Line Tech. It's been great because we've been able to offer that service to our customers in one-stop shop. Something out to David across the street, but to our customers, it looks and feels like a Line Tech process. So it's been good.
David, question for you. Obviously, we've heard from Bob and Mary how looking at it from a distance, it wasn't too bad, but it was localized. This is something different. You are looking at physically starting an operation in a different state, obviously with an alliance partnership here. What goes into your decision-making process to say that not only is this going to be good for our one customer, but obviously diversification of the product in your customer base? Was there more of a factor that you looked at in moving into this region, more than just Line Tech? Not that that's obviously the number one reason, but that continuation of it.
Well, absolutely. The Wausau area, probably in a 100-mile radius, probably has 20 or 30 window companies because of the natural growth of this region. So it was natural for us to come up here. We had the umbrella of Line Tech protecting us, give us work, but we have the opportunity to go out and market ourselves to window companies and other people who use our products. We're selling companies like Green Tech, who are non-architectural. They're utilizing our process right now. So we've had the difficulties in starting it up were minimized, helped in part by Line Tech. They helped us, kind of mentored us the first year, helped us get set up. But also the economic development here was very beneficial. The city has been very beneficial, and just the people who have been here. We have a good workforce. We found people who have been very beneficial to the company. So we're thrilled to be here. It has become such a regional business because of freight, shipping costs, and damage that can occur with the process. It was an excellent decision. We were very satisfied.
So, Rick, are you seeing that same value and benefit to you now, not only just by shortening the distance down, but I'm sure the relationship of designers and production and just understanding, okay, this is a product we need to get out of here. Okay, let's go across the street, make sure we're on task. Does that benefit your business at all?
Yes, yeah, it absolutely has benefited us. It's benefited our customers probably just as much as it has us. The customers are here locally rather than having to ship stuff 1,000 miles away and crane it and incur additional lead time, it's made them more competitive, actually created a competitive advantage for some of them, having a stretch former right in here. And for us, as a finisher, it's probably added, I'd say maybe 5% incremental sales for us and several jobs in addition to the jobs that bring.
So you both are looking at growth models in your businesses that are obviously tied to each other, but then expanding that to new customers?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done it already. 1 year we started double sales. That's how facility. Yeah.
How many folks do you employ here in the Wausau plant right now?
We have we're up to 9 right now in the shop.
Okay.
One front office type person, sales. Rob Siles, he's our national sales manager. He's lives right here, so he's part of it also.
Sure. Okay. You guys mentioned obviously looking at that partnership, that alliance, from an economic development standpoint. What were the key factors in deciding, and again, looking at where we need to make sure that this partnership is established in this area? What regional or economic development factors played into your decisions of partnering, relocating, growing your businesses, those types of things? Anything come to mind there?
Well, the economic development helped us financially to some degree, but I think they helped me with contacts, put me in contact with real estate people to find a facility. We looked at numerous facilities around the Wausau area before we purchased the one we're in. We brought in equipment and they helped find electrical contractors, hydraulics. We have a lot of hydraulics in our equipment. And so the hydraulics person, finding employees. So there was a lot of benefits to that. I think that just getting our name out in the region too, that's really economic development.
Open that up to anybody, I guess. Bob, Mary, any additional comments on that?
The only thing I can think of is what we mentioned on facilities, probably the biggest surprising was one of the biggest obstacles and challenges to having things work out at the end.
I needed about 25,000 square feet of floor space. We needed a building to grow into. As we started to grow, we found a building growing who's got 55,000 square feet. And it's an older building. We're going to so upgrade it. So certainly try to be good corporate citizens here in Wausau.
Great. Bob, Mary, anything there to add as far as kind of the economic development or regional partnership that you encountered, not just the relationships you mentioned with the Wausau Region and Aaron's team, but anything else that come to mind that really helped this partnership establish and grow?
Not that it comes to mind. I think the greatest piece was just that initial introduction that Aaron had. He was mindful that he might have an opportunity to connect one chamber member with another. And I think that's along the lines of what David's saying, is that those contacts, that's invaluable. When you can share that credibility or borrow that credibility from someone else to engage with a new customer, new contact. Those are the types of things that are really can push a project or an opportunity forward much more quickly. Our business model is based on speed. It's based on time, and any way that we can shorten that selling process or shorten that time frame beating a new contact is critical for our business.
You can open it up to the floor here at this point. Anybody have any additional questions or thoughts that they'd like to share with our panelists here today so far?
David, you came in from out of state. Did you also work with state or region or any entities in terms of incentives to help your business come here? And how did you weave your way through all that?
EVCO helped us, but we also got a loan through the state agency, and I can't remember that they loaned us. They were part of the financing building. That was very beneficial. And it's at a fixed rate, for 10 years or something. I think that's subsidized by the state of Wisconsin. money.
How did you, there's a lot of red tape and all that sort of, how did you, locally, did you get help and support with McDefco?
I did. I found a local bank that helped me tremendously, Integrity Bank. They were very beneficial to meet them, and they were very helpful in helping us get financing here locally. We had, I have a long established banking relationship in Texas, but they were a little bit hesitant after the downturn in the economy, and I was moving to another state, my fourth location. They were a little bit hesitant to come up here and loan money. So it was great to find local financing, and I think that's beneficial. No, it went very smoothly, actually. And the economic development, and they were very, very, very helpful. In fact, I probably wouldn't be here if I
Other questions? Chuck? You talked about transportation benefits by having some other day-to-day benefits to the state by having a supply.
For us, I think it's been a great opportunity where we're not hopping on a plane or driving 6 or 8 hours just to come visit Gamber Johnson. We can send our engineers physically on site to their company as they need to meet with us. We utilize technology as much as we can for go-to meetings, but the relationships that you develop by being closer, in that area, in that geography, you learn a lot more about people that way, just physically being, in front of them and having the opportunity to talk with them. And I think that's sped up the process of the trust that we initially developed. So just having that, that closeness and the ability to hop in the car and drive, and if they needed additional parts on short notice, being able to deliver them very quickly has been so.
I would just add standard versus custom products. I think it makes a big difference too. You guys mentioned we're in custom products. Standard products, it's make the stock inventory. Proximity probably doesn't matter as much, but custom products, it makes a difference. The communications are easier. When David does here, it doesn't always work out right the first time. So there needs to be kind of an iterative back and forth between customer, supplier, or customer's customer to get the instant feedback to make sure deliveries can still happen.
And we've tackled some usual things with them, development wise, that I would have never trying to convert metal that has insulated materials integrated to build extrude or marine building concepts, and that has been something that's been very difficult to work back and forth together. We probably could have tackled thousands.
Question?
Having some aluminum, do you do your own extruding or having the aluminum extruders locally?
That's very beneficial. Gordon Aluminum here in town, we're working with them on some projects also. So
it really tightened the whole supply chain by having them and having that input also.
That's right.
Yes, question.
A question for Bob and Mary. I'm curious, Mary, you mentioned that you were looking for a supplier like Nikolai Plastics, but you didn't really know that they weren't first on your list. Maybe you weren't even sure they were out there. They could really meet your needs. What do you think is really kind of needed to be able to share those capabilities and understanding of what folks can do to meet the needs of local customers and help local supply chains grow?
Working with the chamber and everything, getting to know who's all involved, who's in your area, having the list of people that participate. What do they do? Who is the contact there? To understand what your true needs are and who can service you the best. When I was looking for an injection molder, and there's a lot of them, as Bob has said, and to get a reference to say that talk to Nicolay. They may be someone that you can work with. And get to understand what are their capabilities,
Sure.
What are your capabilities. What actually do you need? Did you know that right up front? Can you share that right up front with them? have your meetings. You may not walk away from the first meeting saying, yep, that's the company that I want to do business with, but it may start to trigger, they are somebody that I could do business with. You know, get your facts, meet again, talk about it, understand, lay it all out so that everything is out in the open, and that they know what you want, you know what you need, and the expectations can be met.
What's just a follow-up question, what do you see as like one of the ways to kind of facilitate that? Because having been in sales, and look at it and say, well, if you don't walk away with that opportunity, what's a successful gig? How do you just kind of open that up, you know, put that transparency out there and say, hey, these are the needs and these are some people who can maybe support those needs? How do you bring that to kind of, Bob, how do you think we kind of bring that together?
Well, your question before, I mean, as we saw it, it's an incredible marketing opportunity just for ourselves. Investing in our own marketing. We know there's a hole out there. Our industry it's highly fractured. Everyone in this room could be a competitor of mine, and we wouldn't know who is a customer. It's just that fractured. That being said, what we really focused on initially in working with Mary and just marketing ourselves is, as we're telling our story, our narrative, we're very honest and say, you know, we'd love to come in and meet with you and learn and understand what you're doing. We need you to be as transparent as you can with us. And at the end of the day, we may not be a fit. Rather than, you know, coming in and making promises that you can't deliver on. And I think some companies, you know, run into that challenge. We're very honest. We may not be a fit for you. If we are, and, you know, there's significant opportunity for both companies to improve, whether it's in lead time, whether it's in sales. But having that partnership and that relationship right away, we approach it more as a consultative standpoint than anything. We're not really selling anything. Everything's custom, so it's really a service that we provide.
David, anything to add to that question?
I think that between Line Tech and myself, where we have really improved our situations that we can communicate. We've had meetings where we've trained his people, and they've trained us on their processes. We understand what their needs are, and they understand the problems that we run into in trying to build some out. So those kinds of interchange between the two companies has improved us both, giving us new insights into how we can help each other. We've been able to streamline the process over the last 2 years considerably. So those things helped us immensely. I think that strategically, from a standpoint, Line Tech really probably benefited. You probably addressed this there. We benefited by opening up the region sales. But Line Tech now go market a whole different group of people. Now address that.
Yeah, there was some sales synergies or benefits from the supply chain alliance too. We have a sales force that has a sales force. Ours maybe covered some areas that yours did not. Had relationships with customers. Yours did not. Yours had some relationships. Ours did not. So there was a good control synergy on the sales side.
We have our customer base is interesting because we have everything from a small glass shop, I need a one piece of metal for a small project, to a large curtain, 50-story building, and that is 1,000 pieces of curtain. So his probably was more centered on larger projects. We may have had a bigger base. It's drawn me more into larger projects. He's probably getting access into some small things. So it's worked two ways.
We'll go back to this question here a little bit. Maybe, Mary, you kind of touched on it right away. You talked about, you were doing some looking for this, and you went to the internet. I'm not sure. I would imagine many of you probably do the same thing. You start searching, and it's alphabetical listing of who comes up, and you have no clue what that person is. One thought that's come up in some discussions that we've been looking at with the supply chain, connecting local resources, is kind of an online marketplace. Quick show of hands, if we could here, just would an online marketplace, if it's maintained, if it's updated, would that be a resource that would give you an opportunity to understand that, who does work in my region, and I maybe go there versus Google, where I'm going to get 1.5 billion different companies all over the world. Would an online marketplace be a valuable tool as a business? Quick show of hands, yes or no? Yes. Okay, good to know. And I think that's kind of what I'm asking and getting to, is that as we grow this, we know that we have our regional economic development partners. We understand the value of having it be in that localized region, whether it be state or even just as you're expanding product line and looking at where can I connect to local employers that do what I'm looking for them to do for me. So I think that online marketplace might be a nice way for us to really get those resources and find out, what do they do? What does this company do? Who can I contact there? And they get a link because they're a member of so-and-so alliance or so-and-so chamber of commerce. And I know somebody at that, it is about building a lot of those connected relationships. So I look at the supply chain as not only the logistical, but also the supply chain connection of who are those contact people and who are those relationship builders that we can get into. Other questions that are from the floor? Yes?
Probably more an observation than necessarily a question, but I'm with Gamble Johnson, by the way. Our relationship with Nicolay Plastics is a little over a year old. They've just been brought into one of our latest, probably most important development projects for 2016, based on a one-year relationship. The relationship between Linetech and Southern Stretch Forming is relatively new, but obviously has done great things in a short amount of time. What's striking to me is this proximity, the regional aspect of it has dramatically increased the speed. Our level of engagement with Nicolay probably cut years off of the relationship building that would have been involved if it would have been a more remote supplier. Do you guys want to expand on that?
Yeah, for us, purely the business development side of things, a very short turnaround for adding a new customer to our base would be 8 months. We have projects that we've been working on 3 years, 6 years. It's a very long sales cycle. It's definitely sped up that relationship for us and for Gamber. The credibility, I've talked about it before. An online marketplace, knowing that the companies that are in that marketplace are from the area and they're credible resources for you to reach out to. I think that's a peace of mind for someone that's looking to make a purchasing decision where maybe some of that anxiety of taking that leap of faith is minimized. I think anything like that can market the region, with some structure to it, I think it's great. But the opportunity that we've had with Gamber, only being a supplier to them for a year, and where that relationship can grow to, it's incredible, and that's a very short term.
Ask you guys to that kind of that follow up to that question, that timeline. Obviously, there could be an expanded timeline of growth, development, product relationship, testing, those types of things. What's been your timeline so far?
We're kind of a short fuse on our. I think we're going to develop product relationship with customers. Most everyone knows who we are in the industry. We've been around 25 years. So they're going to send us what kind of project for you. So we may get an order from a glass shop once every 2 years. So they're in our customer database. There are customers that we have wanted to develop long-term relationships with, like Wausau here in town. This relationship has allowed us to develop that more quickly. I think that you're talking about a database. I think that would get the word out about somebody like me coming to town, or window companies, or anybody in architectural find out it's quick. The fact that we are an alliance with Linetech gives us credibility, and now we've been here 2 years, but it happened very quickly. We came up here, we were inundated with words real fast. So great thing.
Same thing on your side too, as far as bringing on a new supplier like that. Quick relationship turnaround, quick product turnaround for you.
Yeah, definitely increased the pace of things. Our customer base is kind of a little bit different. Dave just mentioned ours is more pre-existing, and in long term, this was additional service we were putting into the portfolio and those customers, existing customers. But it, as Dave mentioned, it happened very quickly because our customers wanted it as fast as they could rather than shipping stuff out to miles.
Does that present any challenges for managed growth? Let me ask you at the CEO level as you're looking at your companies and your product line, quick, how you integrate something like that. There could be some immediate, wins on the scoreboard, but what does that look like for managed growth over the next 5 to 10 business years?
5 to 10, I don't think there's any issue. Certainly the startup phase, because it happened quickly.
We promised economic development. We had 2 machines in place at the end of 2 years. We had 4 machines. We told them we'd have 6 employees. We have 9. So it's grown very quickly. Training people is our difficult thing because this is not something you just walk in and know how to do. There's about a 3 to 4 year cycle time to getting somebody to become trained and learn how to run the machines and actually make a good piece instead of being scrap. So that was our challenge, and I had to fly people up here from our facilities basically for the first year. I kept the road hot, Texas and here, Pennsylvania, so here, training people, getting product shipped out. We had some few people later, but it's pretty smooth, really.
I know that there's a great local technical college here that can be happy to help you out.
Okay.
Other questions, comments from the field? Yes, sir.
Were there any certification hurdles that you guys had to get through to become certified in the process? Like Rick, Mary?
No, there was nothing actually certified. We had to they had to go through first piece inspection and with our requirements for quality, and that they're because of the type of products that we produce, and that there, but no.
So like PPAP or anything like that, yeah, stuff. ISO certification or anything like that.
As far as Gamber's requirements, I mean, there's a quality audit. We have the quality requirements that they have. We are an ISO company. We do PPAP, we do the first article inspection. Really, because we're custom, we're able to meet the quality standards of our customer base. There are things that we don't do. We're not involved in medical clean, that type of restrictions, but we're doing everything from throwaway packaging to high-end medical MRI parts and aerospace parts. So if you fly on the 737, drink a craft beer, or use a Kohler toilet at some point in your life, you've probably experienced Nicolay plastics. So that kind of runs the gamut of quality and recommendations and needs.
Any issues from you guys on that? Same follow-up question on certifications? Or?
We're kind of such a specialty niche. There's not much of a qualification process for us. All my specs, they're written in architecturals. They don't even specifically address metal curving. We just have tolerances that we follow. And I think that what really gives us credibility is my architectural background. We have serviced our architectural industry for 25 years and major projects. So we're trying to move towards a quality type shop. In fact, Line Tech is helping us with that. They're going to give us some opportunities to benefit from some of their certifications. First one is the 5S, practice 7-6. Those are 2 of them we're going to try to get here over the next year and a half. So we're going to benefit from it. I think they will. So.
It might be more for Rick and Mary, away from certifications though. I'm guessing what were those conversations like though? At some point you all had to sit down and say, look, if we're going to make this work, then we have to make sure we this, and this. What were those conversations like?
Well, for us, those conversations occurred obviously before the alliance happened, before David relocated here. Those kind of discussions occurred when we were kind of hammering out the formal agreement between the two companies. What would be the service levels? What would be the quality expectations? How would we respond to quality issues? What would the capacities be? From our standpoint, how much volume can we commit to David to get a viable business? All those kind of discussions. Ours might be a little different than what the customer-supplier relationship was, more about an alliance agreement, all those kind of things up front.
And that took about, what, 6 months?
It was 1 month for real stuff, 5 months for legal stuff.
Mary, from a purchasing standpoint?
We have a quality man out there. And first off, they're ISO certified, so that was the biggest plus right there. We talked about our quality manual, what the expectations were. We went through it. There were nothing hidden from Gamber, nothing surprising to Nicolay. They knew what the expectations of our products was going to be right up front when we met and discussed.
And they also provide a customer report card for us as well, so we know what their requirements are for on-time delivery, what their requirements are for quality. And we actually we incorporate that into our internal customer service. So we rate ourselves based on the scores that the feedback they're providing back for us. So.
Peggy in the back, you had a question.
I'm just kind of curious about the relationships. Maybe Brian Weigert can answer this, because I know they've been involved actively in exporting products out of the States. In fact, you won an exporting award, Brian. Did these relationships contribute to measurable business expansion or growth that you can identify?
Just, I guess, in really broad strokes, it's the capability to expand. Our products are used globally, so there isn't anything specifically unique about what Nicolay or any of our other vendors do that makes us better able to export, but it's the overall capability, because especially when you get into exporting, the exact opposite phenomenon of what we're talking about here is occurring. So the speed issue is there, the cost issue of the logistics and so on, communication issues, time zones, etc. Really get to be challenging. So if you fail on the product quality standpoint, on the delivery standpoint, on living up to your promises, the whole thing comes down like a house of cards. So this really gives us a great foundation to be able to leverage the other capabilities that we have to serve these people worldwide.
Other questions, comments? I'm going to pull a little bit of an audible here and ask John, Tom, if you would come up as well to just talk a little bit more from a localized standpoint, some of the same successes that you've had. Before I do that, let's give our panelists a round of applause for their time and their If you guys want to just come down on the front too, it'd be great. We'll take it to our next session when Chuck can then get up and do some of these things. So, thank you. I think we heard again as these gentlemen are getting set up here, the relationship is so key. Hopefully you've had that opportunity to network with some of your neighbors. You've talked to, you've engaged in your alliances, whether they're a metal alliance, whether they're a chamber alliance, a business council. Make sure that you leverage those relationships, because as you found out, that although you may be competitors, if you will, there are opportunities within those types of connections and relationships to grow upon. So I'd like to introduce these two gentlemen if they want to say their name, their role within their company, again, what they do.
Okay, Tom Feltz, I'm the president of J&D Tube Vendors.
John Peterson, president and owner of Shooting Metals.
And just quickly, each with you, Tom, what do you do in your company?
We are a tube fabricator, of form tube components, serve primarily the construction industry, and we've grown over the years with our customer base to develop more into their structural applications, their exhaust applications, and those types of things. So we're kind of a one-stop shop for them. Primarily serve construction industry.
John?
Metal fabrication business, been around for about 40 years. We service the architectural industry. Wausau Lindewall is one of our customers. We also serve the construction, agricultural, and defense industry. throughout the Midwest.
Tom, I'm going to start with you here. We've heard about companies relocating to a region directly across the street, significantly cutting down that time and that logistic there. You've made a partnership with a business partner in your business park. You want to share what you've done and how that's worked out?
Yeah, we're fortunate. It probably started with us 15 or 20 years ago with this community, about 15, 20. Senflex, that's a company that's now in our industrial park, started a one-man shop in a building, a single-car garage, building flexible exhaust components for cooler and smaller applications. We sold him vent components, and he'd often rummage through our scrap box to find little parts that he could have. More or less a partnership where we were helping a guy out, and we got to be good friends. But over the years, our expertise in the tube fabrication side of what was a key component for what he does, slowly but surely he became a bigger customer and was ordering more parts. And eventually, what's happened is we were the first building in the industrial Western Technology Park, and he has built a building right across the street from us now. It's grown back to a point where the relationship has gone that he's in our top 5 suppliers, nearly $1 million in sales, which came from virtually nothing in a relationship that we built back and forth. And we're here today because of this whole supply chain diversification. We're really going to put an effort at our company to work at developing business within our industrial park, within our city, within our county, that we've kind of overlooked over the last few years, just because of the fact we're so busy building up the large OEMs that are hundreds and hundreds of miles away that we forget about the guys across the street. We have 6 customers in our industrial park, and we know we're not a sole supplier of parts of everything that they buy independent that we can provide. And that is a goal we're going to push this year. And I can't take credit for it. If you ever want to get real smart, we're a 3rd generation company, about 10 years into our 3rd generation. If you really want to get smart, hire your kids to work for you, because they bring new ideas. And as soon as you get the idea that you're going to stop and listen to them, you really get smart. Then at that point, they've been listening to you all the years. But those relationships, thinking the whole thing here, and everybody that talks to you, it's not about what we're building and what we're selling. It's about relationships that we build back and forth. That's what's been really strong. So,
John, Applied Fabrication in the partnership with Shooting Metals. If you could explain a little bit about
Sure.
what that looks like.
It's first of all, how we met was, as some of you may know, we have a manufacturing line here, and I met Tim Scher, who was a veteran, and he actually became part of our group. And then we began talking about some of our capabilities, and he gave us an opportunity to quote on something that I didn't quite know that. Obviously, David here's business, the stretch for me part of it, talks about how things work. They went out and did some selling, Applied Fab did, and found a project that they needed to do, but they didn't have the capabilities. Anybody who knows a little bit about metal fabrication industry, it's very capital intensive, and to start out, don't have necessarily all those capabilities. And Tim had this project. It was a niche type project that David was going to be doing, but didn't have the shearing and forming capabilities. And so consequently, we did that. And then really the relationship started developing from that. As I mentioned, we do a lot of business in the defense area. Oshkosh Corp, as many of you know, just received a big contract for the JLTV contract. And Tim, because of his background as being a vet, he went after some business there. Now, again, that's a customer of ours as well. And he called me up one day, and he was concerned because he had an audit coming up, because he had a bunch of parts that he was going to be getting. And he was concerned about the audit. One of the parts of the audit was having a disaster recovery program. And he reached out to me, and said, would you do that? I said, absolutely. And so because of that, obviously that fulfilled one of his obligations. And now he's got, a contract coming up from a future standpoint that's going to allow him to be able to grow. Those are those neat success stories, if you will.
Any challenges that you gentlemen have seen as you look at your overall business and said, Tommy, you mentioned it, how do we find those localized folks, be it relationship building, be it committees that you happen to be on? Any challenges in saying, okay, let's put the pedal down, let's actually make it happen versus just having some conversations? How did you get past that next? And I think it was brought up in a question today about setting, I think one of them, somebody talked about those clear expectations, that agreement that you had between the two companies about, we can do this, you can do that. Is that how big of a factor does that play in you guys looking at it as, is this a good business decision for us or not?
Well, what we're actually looking to do within our region is to develop that relationship where it's not just a supplier-customer relationship, it's almost a customer-customer, supplier-supplier type thing. We're looking to grow our business. Semflex, as they've grown, one of our latest acquisition is a flat, so they can provide product back to us. We're pretty busy in, we have a lot of product that ends up in their market where it requires flex. Well, they do the flex work for us, so it's actually a relationship we're trying to build. Well, they have something that we can get from them, and it just tightens up that whole relationship. Takes some of the competitive salt, because it's a service. Look at freight that doesn't be there, that doesn't have to be included. So overall, we're trying to develop a mutual type arrangement with our customers, and there's something that we need to try to keep it in our region, cut down on spend freight issues, and have that be consideration on the purchasing side as well.
Okay. John, anything to add on that?
Well, I think, one of the things that, is sometimes always a concern is that competitive nature that we have. We're going to steal someone's business. And I think getting to know one another and getting to understand the fact, I think that's a little bit of culture. And I think today's situation is, I think we just got to educate people, have trust in that whole process. And we also provide finishing capabilities. And, in some cases we've had, people they reached out to who sell to the same customers who get very concerned about that. And, I think once you breach a situation like that where you cause problems, that causes economic, that gets out of the community. So that's one of the risk factors that you would think that people would understand. That, but trying to break that barrier down is pretty important. Yeah, I'll go back to what I said before. Same thing here. Tom has some unique capabilities, and we have a customer, and I'll mention it's Caterpillar, who has certain requirements for tubes. And I don't know much about Caterpillar, but they're pretty loyal to their supply chain. And they don't like to have a bunch of them. Okay, so if we can leverage those capabilities, it gives us additional markets that we didn't penetrate before, and it's a win situation. I think collaborating on some of those situations is a big thing. I think it's just a matter of breaking.
Good. Questions for these two gentlemen? Yes, sir. This is for Tom. The Simplex business, was that in your wheelhouse already, or?
I would say some of our capabilities have expanded because of the business we do with them. When they started small, it was smaller diameter tubes, smaller exhaust systems, and Scott was kind of limited by what our capabilities were as far as how large a tube we could develop. Over the years, we're obviously not his only supplier, and we're going to be over, talking to him, find out exactly why not. I'm sure it's simple things that need to be talked, logistics and price. I'd like to think we have an advantage on the logistics side. But as we've grown with our other supply base, I think that's our customer base, that's allowed him to grow. We've made decisions to go from where we're at 2-inch diameter tube up to 6-inch diameter tube, and obviously his business and capabilities have been able to grow because of what we can provide him. Not that we're his only supplier, but it works good for him because we have that relationship back and forth where if he has a new product, he comes to us as the experts on the tube side of it and takes, he relies on our expertise on that part of his product. So I think he kind of, as we grew, he grew, and our capability has definitely been a plus for him. And his laser work now is definitely a plus for us. We're pushing that.
Questions, comments? Anybody else in the audience? Yes.
Curious about this gentleman. You're talking about customers you service CAT. There's plenty of probably folks here who in this room service CAT. Company I was engaged with manufactured a component that was it's OEM heavy equipment. Where you talked about breaching that confidence, I think there's an opportunity to be more open and sharing of who we work with to maybe encourage those customers to see this area as not just one supplier, but a true supply chain. And I just finish it by saying the thing that I found was it was sometimes difficult to get to get customers or even prospects to kind of commit to that. We talk about logistics, travel logistics of getting here to see what's here. And I just wondered if there was a greater, if they had more suppliers here, would they make that trip more often? Because these guys said it earlier, once they saw someone said it earlier, once they saw the capabilities, they were convinced. I think once people come here and see the capabilities, there's a big credibility there. So talk about that. Is it an opportunity to maybe open up and share a little?
I'll touch on that real quick. It was actually kind of and ties right into what you're talking about. Caterpillar was here, was the main corporate guy, and was looking, going through our paint facility. And when he was going through the paint facility, he had seen some wire products, that we were painting for someone else. And he asked me about, who that was, all right? And whether that was an opportunity for him to get inside of that facility. I picked up the phone, called that individual that afternoon at his facility. I think there are those opportunities, and I think, and those capabilities, to be able to try to share that. I think that, based upon my experience with Caterpillar particularly, is that they're very impressed with what we've got going here in north central Wisconsin, and we have a great workforce. They see that as an opportunity in the future, and so there are those things that I think that we can do to leverage on them.
Are there any challenges there, though, having large OEMs like that? So you've got commodity manager for fabrications and a commodity manager for
They talk, because this individual was not actually the commodity manager for that product.
Okay.
I had a question. Take like a page out of the state, the Fed's playbook, when they're trying to develop commerce overseas countries. They have kind of like a trade mission from the Wausau region down to, and so you have a concerted effort, a concerted presence, either to invite them up to say, here are some of the resources, but also to go the other way and to, take the mountain too, and to say, these are some of the resources, and this is what we can do for you.
I can throw on I'll wear two different hats today as a chamber member and on the board, and also as a trustee at Mtc. There's two groups right in our area that would be more than happy with us in facilitating something like that to bring businesses in and see what our region has to show. There'd be a manufacturing expo or something like that we show it's out there. It's on a smaller scale. We see all the time when we get a downturn in the economy, it's like the best time for us really to build our business up. We don't stop and it's just full speed ahead. And the key is to get customers into our doors at that point in time. We'll have customers that have been long-term customers for us for years. And they come in our door, they get the chance to come and see what we have to offer. We may sell them formed hydraulic tube assemblies for their equipment. And after a tour of our plant, they come back, they don't realize that we could provide the low diameter exhaust systems or a structural tube, handrails, threaded rod and things like that. They had no idea what our capabilities were. So on a bigger scale, I think it'd be a good point if we can somehow get together with manufacturers in our region and come back in and show our sales. And in order to make that successful, what we have to do is we'd have to, as manufacturers, get together and agree to do this, and we'd have to share our contacts and our knowledge, and we'd have to reach out to customers to bring them in, fully aware of the fact that we may do a lot of business with cash. We need to get the right people to that expo to see what's available in Wisconsin. I think as a collaborative effort, we could definitely pull something like that off. I think success would be tremendous.
I'd say the ultimate end game in talking about supply chain is just like Southern Stretch or anybody else that, especially OEMs that have common supply chain here. Is the ultimate goal would be to attract them when they're to have it on the top of their mind when they're thinking of a plant expansion to give us that opportunity, because the supply chain is very tight here and we can continue to grow it for their needs, and they see that we're flexible and able to do that. So.
Any other questions for these gentlemen? I want to kind of end on one comment that was brought up. Johnny brought up the Alliance. Derek from the Workforce Development Board is here. I know members are already in our audience here. If you could talk maybe quickly about just the structure of the Alliance, the Central Wisconsin Metal Manufacturing, and then what has that done in terms of that logistical supply chain relationship? I know there's a number of initiatives that the Alliance has in mind, but talk specifically how you see the Alliance helping build business.
Well, first of all, we're made up of 36 36 members right now throughout north central Wisconsin. The alliance is, the main objective of the alliance is to build the pipeline of our future employees. As we all know, I think north central Wisconsin, they're saying in the next 5 to 6 years is between 35 and 65,000 short. Coleman, if that's correct, you're still. That's a big deficit. We have a big challenge. So it's really the alliance's job of trying to develop that future workforce. And then I guess going back to some of the things that we're accomplishing and things that we're doing, as you all know, first of all, the heavy metal tour. We've taken that from a smaller group to about 3,500 middle school kids that went through manufacturing in one day to expose them to the jobs that we have. In the past, we've not done a very good job. Hoping that obviously kids to understand that there are other ways besides just going straight to college to be successful. Many of us in this room know that story. And then another one that we're working on right now, working with the machine tool program and developing an accreditation program for the machine tool area, which basically will kind of align the levels of a machinist and giving them physical tests of time type nature, as well as a written test that will determine their capabilities coming out of high school and then going through the program at different levels of a machinist. And that would be a uniform program that not only the technical college then would be able to get grants, but then we as employers would know what we're getting much easier and much more simpler, which obviously helps us develop individuals and the future programs. So that's one of two things that we're kind of, besides youth apprenticeship, is another one that's on our radar screen.
Yeah, I would say as far as business development, Schwema, which is the group, that's not one of our major goals, and we do fight. I'm on the membership side, and one of the struggles that we fight is it's tough to get two laser shops in because they think there's a competitive edge, and it's not the group involved. I think that's probably the biggest concern we have for people and our alliance is the fact that we have to deal with competitive hats on the side when we walk in and deal with the issue of the worker pipeline. Really our main purpose in life, but there's definitely been different things that came off of that group. There have been relationships that have made with companies that we weren't aware of, and I'm sure we're doing business with companies as a result of the alliance of the sector, which is just going to show. If we get everybody together, we get by that competitive nature, make something happen.
I think there is, and I like the graphic here that we're using for this particular presentation, how it does link everything together. Made some notes here: talent development, links to workforce, links to building capacity for your businesses, links to growing, meeting new business demands. I mean, it all starts with that activity, and NTC is proud to be part of that alliance. And what we've seen is that, the hats go on the side, and everybody walks in the room, and yes, they are competing for that same talent, but it's all for the betterment of the region, because if this company does well, that company's going to do well, the other one's going to do well. And having those linkages in this region, you don't want to lose one of those, because it not only maybe cuts down in your supply chain, which you already have in your business plan, but it also then does something to your talent pool as well. So thank you for addressing how the alliance, I see it as, it's secondary. There is talent development as a key initiative for the goal, but it's a number of manufacturers getting together and identifying some of those key challenges and opportunities that you all have. So any other further questions for our two localized individuals? Let's give them a quick round of applause as well. Okay. I think what we'll do is we'll take a little bit of a break here before we bring Chuck up for our next presentation. Restrooms are located just outside this door. Feel free to grab another refreshment. Come on back in. We're going to have 4 components to our program here, and then we're going to probably wrap you up and get you out of here a little bit earlier. So let's take about a 10-minute break, everyone.
Do you need something?
Oh, more than that, Joe. Nice job.
Oh, thank you.